signing in or have been waiting in the lobby for admittance, we're so glad you're here with us today to join us for a very special presentation by Dr. Call and Gurpreet Dillon. So glad all of you are here. As you are logging in and kind of getting oriented, if you have not been on Teams before, this may look different for you. If you have joined us via the web, you can kind of run your mouse over the bottom toolbar, and there's a little icon that says a question mark. And if you have questions throughout today's presentation, you can ask any questions at that time through that function. And we'll talk a little bit more about just meeting logistics as everyone is joining us. We're still about a minute out, so soon we will begin. Hello and welcome everyone. We are so glad that you are all with us today. Thank you so much for joining us in this special presentation, an insider's view of our PeaceHealth St. Joseph Medical Center Cancer Center. We are just getting everyone logged in. We're so glad that you are here. We're thrilled that you joined us today. Just a couple of meeting logistics. We actually have all of you muted at this time. It just helps us with that background noise. So if you want to ask a question and you've joined us via the web, there is a little question mark icon. If you kind of roll your mouse over the screen, you will see, and you can ask questions in our live Q&A section, and we'll be sure to try to get to all the questions that you do have. And we'll give another minute or so for people to get logged in, and then we'll go ahead and start. But thank you again for joining us. All right, Joanna, are we still having people log in? Should we wait a couple of minutes? You're nodding your head. Okay, so we'll still wait a few minutes. We're still admitting people into the webinar today. Thank you so much for joining us. Excited that you are all with us today. A really special welcome to all of the folks out there, all of our donors who have contributed to the Cancer Center over the years. Really excited to share with you today an update on the journey that we've been on for the last 8 years. So Joanna, I'm going to wait for you to give me the go-ahead that we should start based on the attendance. You just give me a thumbs up from Joanna. Okay, so that's what we were looking for. All right, you guys, so welcome everyone. So glad that you are here. Just wanted to tell you a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording this event so that we can share it with others. So just so you know, this is recorded. Since it's a virtual event, we actually have unfortunately muted all of you. That will just help with background noise. But if you have a question and you've joined us via the web, there's a little question mark box if you kind of roll your mouse over the screen, and that's our live Q&A. So if you have questions at any time throughout the presentation, do feel free to write those in that question and answer box, and we'll be sure to answer those. So thank you again for joining. This is our first in a series of virtual events. Today, of course, the focus is our Cancer Center, and next month we'll be focusing on the Cardiovascular Center. For those of you who I haven't had an opportunity to meet, my name is Ann Rasmussen. I'm the Chief Development Officer for the Northwest Network, and I am starting my 9th year at PeaceHealth. So really excited to be with you here today. I have two amazing gentlemen joining me as well, Dr. Bill Hall and Dr. Gurpreet Dillon. That was Dr. One Day maybe, Gurpreet Dillon joining us as well today, and I'll give you a little bit more about their information in a minute, but just wanted to share my hope for you for today is that really that you have a deeper understanding of the services that we provide at our cancer center, the clinicians who will care for you, and really what one might experience when they walk through our cancer center doors, and also share with you the impact that philanthropy has had on our community and directly with our patients and families who have been under our care at the cancer center. So I really briefly want to introduce you to Gurpreet, and then I'm going to pass the mic to him. So I've had the honor of working with Gurpreet for many years now. He has been with PeaceHealth for over 20 years in a variety of different capacities. Most recently, right now, he's the director of our Cancer Center program, Palliative Care, and Hospice. And if I was to think about how I describe Gurpreet, everything Gurpreet does, he does with a passion for excellence. So excited that you're here with us, Gurpreet. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Anne, and welcome everyone. Really appreciate you joining us today. We are so excited to share who we are and what we're doing here with you, and your support over time has been incredible. I'm excited to just share what some of the work that we're doing in this beautiful cancer center that you guys all helped make possible. And it's been just over 8 years since we've been in this comprehensive cancer center with bringing a lot of wonderful services in one place. And one of the things that I wanted to share was, I have a patient and family advisory committee. And one of the most common things that I hear from patients and families is how hard it is to navigate the healthcare system. And for me, that is one of the reasons why I think it's so important to have almost a one-stop shop for cancer care, is really bringing all of those really key services into one building so that we can care for the whole person through in this one space. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish. There are certainly a few things that we do have to send outward, but it is incredible to be able to provide that level of service for our patients. And so thank you for joining me today. As Anne said, I've been in PeaceHealth for a little over 20 years and been with the cancer program and hospice and palliative care for almost 5. For me, I also love to share that with the mission of PeaceHealth, I've had the opportunity to work in several areas, and what I love to share is that cancer, palliative care, and hospice is, for me, at the core of our mission. How we relieve pain and suffering and care for each person in a healing, compassionate way is at the core of what we do and how our program is designed. So thank you for your support and even joining us today to hear more about what we're doing. And so I'm really proud of who we are and what we're doing, and hope to share that with you. A little bit about me. I've also been a part of the community now for since 1993, so nearly 30 years. Cancer has impacted my family. My sister is a survivor. She actually just got fired from her oncologist this last week, so we're really excited and celebrating that with her. A huge accomplishment for us. And then I've had many relatives, aunts, uncles that have been through this experience, and so it's not just one of work, but it's also one of a personal connection. That's really important, that we provide great care. So I'd love to go to the next slide. One of the things I wanted to share is the care process is really intended to be healing. And how we describe that is that process starts from before a patient even arrives at our cancer center, and whether at time of diagnosis, one of the things that we're lucky to have is a navigation program where oftentimes our navigators are supporting patients in their PCP offices or their GI or their pulmonologist office, just so that we can have that support as somebody finds out that they have this serious illness. And so we want to really walk them through the process. What are all the things that they need to be able to do and understand before they even come to us, so that they're fully prepared, know what's going to come next, and how they can navigate that, because it's extremely it's a traumatizing experience. It's scary, and we want to make sure that we have the support for them. And so the navigation process is critical for that support to have kind of a healing start. The other thing you'll notice if you've been to our cancer center is just as you approach the center is the environment externally. It's beautiful, serene trees, benches for folks to sit, trying to really bring that moment of peace at a time of anxiety and fear. When you come into our building, you're going to be greeted by a warm smile with our excellent front office staff who do an excellent job of just calming folks with their kindness, comfort, and support as they're checking patients in or getting folks registered, and then also being the last folks that our patients see on their way out. And I got to tell you, some of the joys that we see with the relationships that our front office staff build are just amazing. And so we're really proud of our front office staff that get that opportunity to really support patients as they come in and as they leave. I wanted to describe some other parts of our team. So we, our comprehensive cancer center includes multiple parts. One is we have our medical oncology clinic. We have our radiation oncology clinic. We have our infusion center, where we do a lot of our chemotherapy, infusion therapy, do our draws, hydrations, all of those types of things. And then we also have our radiation therapy, which is an important part of getting radiation treatment. After consulting with the radiation oncologist, you'll hear from Dr. Hall in a little bit of what that experience looks like and feels like in the care that we get to improve the outcomes. And then we also have a survivorship program. We have a palliative care program. So you'll see Dr. Angela Caffrey of many cancer patients are in a time where they need to make critical decisions, have many symptoms that need to be managed, deciding kind of their goals of care. So we have a palliative care program that really helps support. We have two PAs, Kelly and Jonathan, who help really support visits that are follow-ups or acute visits, patient that needs to get in today. We know that when a patient is in oncology is needing care today, we really want to provide that access for them. And so they really create a critical point for us to be able to provide that level of care and keep those patients at our cancer center. So really proud of you're seeing our team here of radiation oncologists, medical oncologists, and our PAs and our palliative care. It's really important they are the drivers of our care, our providers are, and we have an excellent team of nurses, radiation therapists. We have 2 social workers, a patient financial advocate, which is critical in social work. So one of the things we hear oftentimes as a patient learns to have cancer is not only how am I going to take care of this, how am I going to treat this, but how am I going to pay for this? So that part of their suffering that we have the opportunity to relieve here in our program is truly a blessing. We hear this day in and day out, and I'd love to share the story of our patient financial advocate just in the last year helped support patients with $4 million worth of grants, copay assistance, and free drugs that otherwise those patients may not have chosen to get care or may not have been able to afford it. So we're working on things of how can we expand that program so that the cost of care is reduced and also that burden for families is reduced as well. Some other exceptional parts of our program that the foundation really helps us with is the complementary therapy. We're really proud of being able to offer massage for patients, acupuncture, group classes, therapy classes, Reiki, yoga. We have an excellent resource library where we get to where patients can come and review all the wonderful material. We have a wig gallery where patients can choose a wig of their choice, and there are just so many amazing ways. We have a dietitian on campus. We also have a chaplain that comes and supports from a spiritual standpoint, not only our patients but also our staff. One of the things we know that caring for patients is just as burdensome. So we want to really make sure that we take great care of our staff so we can keep their cups full so they can keep filling those cups for our patients. So we're really proud of all of these resources. And if we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so I wanted to share just a few outcomes, and I know one of the questions many folks also have is, hey, how do we compare to national data? So I just wanted to share a couple of slides of just some one or two measures that just show you. So the green bar is what we call a national cancer database, and that is a group of all the centers that are accredited with the Commission on Cancer. So that's who we're compared to in the green bar, and the blue bar is our results, and just from a breast conservation surgery, adjuvant radiation therapy. And so you'll see that, you know, we are right there with all of the national standards. And if we can go to the next column. And this is just another example of colon cancer, of providing adjuvant chemotherapy after surgery, where we're also doing a wonderful job. And you'll see where actually the blue bar is, you know, quite above the national benchmarks. So really, we wanted to provide excellent care close to home. It's so important in that journey of the stressful time of a new diagnosis, and we know that cancer care takes a lot out of not just the patients, but also the family members that require just that support. And we want to be able to provide excellent care for people close to home, all of the wonderful services that they need, that we can provide here, or we can coordinate if we need to partner with one of our organizations down in Seattle. If there's something that we don't offer, we have wonderful relationships with them, and so we provide that facilitation. So we're really proud of just not just the care, but also the collaboration that's a part of the cancer care process. And so just wanted to share a little bit of that. If we can go to the next slide. So cost of care, as I was mentioning earlier, we have a lot of wonderful things that we're doing to really reduce that burden on patients and reduce the total cost of care. And as I was mentioning, our patient financial advocacy program really has provided a phenomenal amount of support as far as free drug assistance, providing grants and copay assistance for folks that can't afford it. Palliative care has been tremendous, and advanced care planning of we want to make sure that the care that we're providing is in alignment with the goals of the patient. We don't want to provide interventions that aren't aligned, and we want to be able to do the things that people really want. The other part that palliative care has really helped with is also helping patients decide when hospice is right for them, and making those at the right time so that they can really have that quality of life they'd like, and spend that quality time with their families and their loved ones, and doing all the things that they would really love to do. And sometimes the burden of the cancer care is beyond what a patient really wants. And so that's where palliative care has been a tremendous amount of support for that patient population that, you know, that's appropriate for. The other thing that we've been really focused on is reducing unnecessary ED visits and also hospitalizations. Many ways that we've been doing that. One is providing access. As I mentioned earlier, is having our physician assistants as a part of our care team so we can get acute visits in today. It has been really important. So having access for our medical oncologists has also been a big part of that. Other aspects is having good follow-up for patients that just started chemo or just starting radiation therapy. Is how are we following up with those folks to make sure that we're being proactive in their symptom management and support. So we've got a lot of initiatives that we've been working on to really reduce that burden on our patients as well. Next slide, please. I think that might be it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Gurpreet. That was wonderful. Really appreciate your insight and knowledge. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Hall. Hello, Dr. Hall. We're so glad that you're with us today. Dr. Hall specializes in radiation oncology. He did his original work for medical school at the University of Washington, and then completed his residency down in California at University of California, Davis. He is board certified in radiation oncology. And I think, Dr. Hall, I was doing some quick math, and maybe your 13th year here at PeaceHealth in Bellingham. You'll have to correct me if I am wrong.
That is correct.
Oh, good. My math was accurate. Dr. Hall also is a past member of our foundation board of directors and just a phenomenal community member and physician. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Hall.
All right. Well, thanks, Anne, for inviting me to do this. It's always fun to get to talk about the Cancer Center and all the great things that we do here. I don't know that I need a whole lot more introduction than that. I don't know who this young guy in the picture is, though. The guy who's here now is considerably grayer and I think 10 pounds heavier than that guy. So if you see me at the Cancer Center, it might not be that particular picture or face. How do we advance the slides?
Joanna will do that for you, Dr. Hall.
All right, I can't do that.
We didn't give you those control today.
That's probably appropriate. So the first thing I wanted to say is I noticed that Gurpreet said that his sister got fired from her oncologist, and I don't know that we ever really fire anybody. We graduate them. So that's a small thing. And then I also want to just comment on that 2020 database outcome slide. If you look at that data, if you look at 2020, you'll notice that there's some pretty big drop-offs from the year before, and I think a lot of that has to do with COVID, and there's been definitely some effect on cancer care because of all the COVID that we've seen. We have obviously fared a bit better than a lot of other communities, but that probably explains some of that difference that you're seeing in 2020. So I get to talk about the patient experience here at the Cancer Center, and I wish that I had just had a chance to record, what I hear from my patients literally every single day, and that is, I can't believe my radiation and my cancer care is done. I don't want to leave this place, because almost universally our patients, and I hear it more on the radiation oncology side, obviously, because that's where I work, really are immensely grateful for their care and are so thrilled to be able to get the care that they get close to home and feel like they're still getting the very best care they possibly could, whether they were in Bellingham or Seattle or MD Anderson or any other big cancer center. Can you give me the next slide? So I thought we'd start with a walk through the Cancer Center so you can see what it's like for a patient who actually comes to radiation oncology. And unfortunately, I assumed all of you had seen the lobby before, but immediately on coming into the lobby, you would see the sign on the left, which is what you see when you first walk into radiation oncology. Down the hallway here on the left would be where you go to the clinic rooms, and immediately hard left here, can they see my arrow or no? Okay, where you see this, the patient mask, that's where our check-in area is in and check out for radiation oncology patients. So as you walk in, you hang a hard right, and then you're on the picture on the right, which is walking down the hallway towards the radiation oncology waiting area, which is, next slide, right here. And you can see this is where our patients wait right before they go in for their radiation treatments. And normally in non-COVID times, this is a very social place with usually 10 or 15 patients and their family members all crowded in here sharing stories and their experience. You can see we still have some holiday decorations up from Christmas holiday. Next slide. This is a picture of what it actually looks like walking back towards the vaults. On the left is a sliding door that you would walk through just as you walk from the waiting area. And on the right is I think this is like a 15,000 pound lead boron door that you can see with the radiation symbol on it. Next slide. And this is what it looks like once you walk through that big lead door. This is our true beam linear accelerator. So this was installed in 2008 when we moved into the new cancer center. And it's hard to believe that this machine is already 8 years old. And because of foundation support, we've been able to continue upgrading this thing pretty much from the time it was installed, and we continue to upgrade it even until today. Our most recent upgrade was a couple years ago, and it's a 6 degree of freedom couch, which is, if you look at the black thing there, that's where the patient actually lays. There's a blue pillow thing that goes under your knees. In any case, that couch allows us to adjust the patient in three-dimensional space, so we can adjust pitch, yaw, and roll, as well as X and Y dimensions. So it gives us amazing ability to get the patient in exactly the right position. And because of that couch, we're now able to do radiosurgery in Bellingham, which we were not previously able to do. So for patients with small brain tumors or small volume metastatic disease in the brain, we're often able to treat their cancer with 1 or 2 sessions of radiation therapy, which is really a fantastic thing to do. All of those patients used to have to go south for that particular treatment. Next slide. This is a picture that's a good story of a cancer patient and what somebody with a tonsil cancer might experience as part of their radiation treatment. And I don't know if this is going to work properly. Can you click the button once, Joanna? Okay, so highlighted in yellow is this patient's tumor. And if you haven't looked at CAT scans before, everything's a little bit backwards. The tumor is actually on the left side. So what you think is on your right is actually on the patient's left. That's a big tumor in the patient's back of their throat area with some lymph nodes, and you can see the smaller lymph node on the opposite side where the big mass is. In the right-hand projection is the patient's tumor in a coronal view, so it's just a different way of looking at it, basically moving from front to back through the neck. Next slide. This is what the patient's scan looked like. This is a PET scan, which is a scan that will help light up tumors that are active. And so you can see where we had kind of outlined everything in yellow, there's a lot of metabolic activity there indicating where the cancer is. If you look down in those 2 black and white panels, you can see that's the whole body portion of the PET, and you don't see any other really dark spots other than immediately above the tumor. And those dark spots above the tumor, the big blobby thing, is the patient's brain, which is supposed to light up on a PET. So this is a common cancer that we see. This is one of the most difficult types of cancer treatment to get through. These patients are almost universally treated with about 7 weeks of daily radiation and then usually weekly chemotherapy. Next slide. And again, so this is a radiation treatment plan. So this is what we look at every day when we're approving plans and getting patients onto treatment. So usually there's about 30 different structures that are drawn on a CAT scan like this. And then we use a computer to optimize the radiation dose. It's a little bit misleading. You would think blue is cool and red is hot, but in this particular color scheme, the blue is where the highest dose of radiation is going, and the pink and red are lower doses of radiation. Next slide. And this is what the patient's imaging looked like 3 months later. So you can see that on the PET image, all of that previously very bright orange has completely resolved. And in the scan below, you can see that in the black and white image, nothing left of this patient's cancer, and no evidence of cancer outside of the head and neck area. So this is just one example of a patient who was treated several years ago, doing fine. This patient basically lives a normal life now. And this is a cancer that, without treatment, somebody would die from usually within a year or 2. Do we still have time? Are we okay for time, Anne? All right, so I wanted to show you one more example. And this is the CAT scan back to normal on the same tonsil cancer patient. Next slide. All right, this is another example of a common treatment that we're doing more and more here in Bellingham called stereotactic radiotherapy, or SBRT. This is an example of a patient who has a lung tumor, and if you look at the red area, it's actually colored correctly. Red is hot in this picture, and blue is colder. In the red area, you can see there's a big ball of a tumor in this patient's left lung. So this is a patient that was treated with 4 radiation treatments. If you go to the next slide, that's what the cancer looked like before treatment on the CAT scan on the left. And after treatment on the right, you can see that the tumor has shrunk pretty dramatically. Next slide. And this is what it looked like on the PET scan before treatment on the left and after treatment on the right. So when I first got to Bellingham, we did 1 or 2 of these treatments, every couple of months. And now we're probably doing 1 to 4 of these treatments every single day in our clinic. The TrueBeam machine that I showed you in the picture on the when we looked at the actual linear accelerator is the primary machine we do this on. Next slide. Oh, are we okay for time?
We're okay, Dr. Hall. Do you have a little bit more you want to share?
So I think at the end of the day, what I just would like to let everybody know is that, all of this equipment is unbelievably expensive, but it's really because of all this high technology that we're able to provide this amazing care. And without it, we'd be like a lot of other cancer centers that, really, don't have the opportunity to upgrade their equipment the way we do. Right now, in Bellingham, we're looking at actually replacing our second linear accelerator, which I didn't show you, with another TrueBeam, which is going to allow us to do even more treatment, like I showed you in the last 2 cases. But these machines, I don't know what the last figure I saw, Gurpreet. I think they're about $3.5 million right now, and they have a lifespan of probably about 12 years. After which point, literally, you have run them into the ground. So I can't thank the foundation enough for all the support we've had at the Cancer Center and the ability to keep us going with all these amazing treatments. And I think what we're going to see over the next, probably 5 to 10 years is that more and more patients are going to be getting, faster and more accurate treatments like this. I'll leave it just to let you know that when I came to Bellingham, the average number of treatments a patient got per treatment course was about 25. And now I think our average number of treatments per treatment course is down to about 12. So less than half. We're able to do sort of better care with more accurate radiation and get patients treated faster, more efficiently, and better. But that does require, some pretty serious technology.
Dr. Hall, I just got goosebumps to hear that our number of treatments has dropped that significantly. That is absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for the care that you provide. You are truly at the heart of our mission. So grateful. We'll be sure to have time for questions for Dr. Hall and Gurpreet, but I just want to wrap us up a little bit. And Gurpreet and Dr. Hall definitely shared a lot of the work that the foundation does. And it's my opportunity now just to say thank you to you. Over, the generosity of our community, we raised over $10 million to build the Cancer Center and to create the infrastructure where we are today. And we continue to raise funds. Our community is so generous, and really we're raising funds in 4 key areas. Technology and equipment. We've definitely learned that we have to be the best of the best and to keep up. That's our commitment to our community. The 6-degree freedom couch that Dr. Hall mentioned was such a wonderful way that the foundation could contribute to that work. So that was awesome. Clinical research and cancer research, we continue to support that area. Patient experience is really at the heart of what we do as well. That includes an array of complementary therapies, massage, acupuncture, tai chi, art classes, and support groups, really to enhance the patient experience and to take maybe a little bit of focus on some self-care and some personal healing while they're on their cancer journey. And then there's a lot of treatments that just simply aren't covered by insurance, and not even treatments, but just living. And so the foundation has committed to support both nutrition and transportation. So grocery store gift cards, nutritional supplements not covered by insurance, gas cards, yellow cab vouchers, bus tokens, anything we can do to ease that financial burden on a family who is going through a cancer diagnosis and treatment. So thank you to the foundation and all your support. Now is the time for questions. So if you have questions, again, please feel free to, if you've logged on the web there, you can run your mouse over kind of the screen, and there's a toolbar, and you'll see a little question mark symbol, and you can ask questions there. We did have a few questions come in before today, so I can start off with one of those, and then also watch the question answer. So we definitely have heard where we're at today, but the question I would love to hear more about is, what are our areas for growth? Maybe that's either physically or service-wise, but where's the Cancer Center going in the next few years? I'll let you lead, Gurpreet, and then Dr. Hall to any follow-up.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Ann. And that's a great question. You know, I think every year we probably have about at least 10 goals that we're trying to accomplish each year. One of the things that we're working on this year is we have a few pieces of capital. So Dr. Hall shared the TrueBeam that does that pretty phenomenal work. One of the other linear accelerators is called an IX. And with the volumes that we care for here in Bellingham, it's coming pretty close to life in terms of that piece of equipment. And so we're looking to go down the capital road for a new linear accelerator, and we'd like to get another TrueBeam. So that's one piece of work. And then also our CT machine. Part of the process in terms of doing radiation therapies, we have to do simulation and get the appropriate images before we can do the planning. And so for that, our CT scanner is coming close to life as well. And so we're in the process of requesting that in our capital request. Several other pieces we're working on, developing some other parts of our program. We know we need to do more genetics counseling, so we're looking to expand that part of our program. We're also doing some recruitment. We have a great team of medical oncologists and radiation oncologists. We're recruiting a medical director as well right now for medical oncology, and so that's really exciting. We've got some great providers coming as well. We're also adding some treatment plans from a national, the NCCN is our national partner from a treatment plan and treatment guidelines perspective. And so we're integrating their evidence-based treatment plans into our system. And so that's really exciting for us to be able to get, as new drugs come out, we get the treatment plans that are aligned with them to make sure we have the right quality of care and guidelines and so forth to match in our electronic medical records. So that's really exciting that we're going down that road. As I mentioned on our patient financial advocacy program, so another piece of software that we are just got approved for and are working on implementing is also a software that helps us research per patient what grants and copay assistance and free drug programs might be available for each patient. And so that gives us an opportunity to help more patients with the financial burden of cancer care. So really excited about that venture as well. So, and then the lastly, I think is important from we're also working on a software of how we can use a new scheduling software for our infusion scheduling to really level load and build more capacity in our infusion center. Our volumes continue to grow each year, and so we want to make sure that we have a great experience for our patients and our staff in having a smooth flow. And so there's some software out there that really allows us to schedule patients at the right time, so there's a smooth flow of patients, and we maximize our chair availability and can get each patient in when they need to be seen. So those are some of the goals that we're working on this year to continue to enhance our program.
That's great, Gurpreet. Thank you. Dr. Hall, anything to add to what Gurpreet said from your perspective?
No, I think that's a pretty good summary. So obviously, after 8 years, we are actually sadly looking at some replacement. I think that we're trying to get, at least in radiation oncology, where we're very equipment heavy, we're trying to get some offset duty cycles going so that we don't have two machines that are the exact same age and will retire at the exact same time. That's really kind of a tricky place to be when that happens. So We are probably a little bit ahead of schedule on replacing the IX, which is the machine that Capri talked about. But at the same time, like I said, our volumes for these SBRT, radiosurgeries, and all these sort of very highly accurate treatment courses are going up. And right now, essentially every single patient treated on our TrueBeam machine and then some is getting one of those types of treatments. So we just really need to have additional capacity to do those types of treatments, because more and more that's where our field is going. So I think on a good note, we've been ahead of the curve in terms of adopting these faster regimens. So we're well positioned to be very competitive in that regard.
Excellent. That's great. And when you say competitive, that kind of brings us up, but a slightly different tilt. Really want to be transparent. A lot of people ask, are there types of cancer diagnosis where I need to go down south? When can I stay home? When do I get a second opinion? Can you just share with us from your perspective, how do we respond to that, and what would you say to a patient?
So I think there are definitely a couple of things where we generally recommend going south for treatment. The two big ones that come to my mind would be liver surgery and pancreas surgery. We just don't really have the volumes of those types of cases to support liver surgery and pancreas cancer surgery programs. And so most of our patients who need those surgeries for, say, early stage pancreatic cancer, or who need a liver resection for either a primary liver cancer or liver metastases, they need to go south to have those surgeries done. Most of the time, the care that happens after that initial surgical intervention, whether that's chemotherapy or radiation, can happen locally in Bellingham. There are also some brain tumors that our neurosurgeons generally would prefer go south for treatment. Right now, unless this has changed, Dan, and maybe we don't have a stealth MRI guidance system for brain tumor surgery. So if you have a brain tumor that's close to a critical structure, and I'm sure that everyone can probably agree that every structure in the brain is critical, but there's a couple that are especially critical, mainly the brain stem or some of the cranial nerves that control facial movement. It's really important to have excellent guidance to know where you are in the brain in 3 dimensions. And right now, our neurosurgeons don't have that, and so they're kind of flying blind. I think that there is some movement to try to get that equipment in Bellingham, which could change, our ability to do those types of surgeries. Likewise, with the liver and pancreas cancers I was telling you about, those patients who have surgery in Seattle almost all come back to Bellingham for their radiation and chemotherapy. So it's not a lot of things that we send people to Seattle to do. From a radiation standpoint, there's almost nothing from a radiation standpoint that we ever need to send anybody to Seattle for. The exception to that would be anything that's pediatric. We don't do any pediatrics. We'll do an occasional teenager case from time to time, but generally anything pediatric is done in Seattle. And then the only other thing that we'll occasionally send somebody for is if we're treating brain metastasis and they have more than about 5 or 6 tumors, we'll sometimes send those patients down because they can be treated on a gamma knife and they can treat a little bit faster than we can. If we have more than 5 or 6 tumors, we need a couple different sessions to get that done. And many times it's just more appropriate for the patient to go to Seattle because they can do up to 30 lesions with a gamma knife. We don't have the volume in Bellingham to ever justify a gamma knife type device.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I think as Dr. Hall said, there's only a few things that folks, we send to Seattle for. But the other thing I'd just say to that is we're happy to facilitate. Our staff know when a patient does need to go, and our providers make that recommendation, and they provide a lot of facilitation for that as well. So we'd love to be sort of the place folks come for their cancer care, and we can facilitate that process to make it smooth and supportive for our community.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Gurpreet, I send lots of patients to Seattle for second opinions.
Yeah.
But it's rare that they ever actually need to stay in Seattle for treatment unless it's one of these specialized surgical things. And on the same note, at least in radiation oncology, the radiation oncologists here, we've all been here a long time. We know all the radiation oncologists in Seattle, especially at SCCA and Swedish and Virginia Mason. And we're really collaborative with them. And so I treat a lot of breast cancer patients. And so I'm on the phone with the radiation oncologists in the breast cancer clinic down in Seattle, probably about 5 times a week, where they're wanting to send a patient back who ended up down there for surgery or was down there for a second opinion. So it's a good situation. I think that it doesn't feel like there's a lot of a competitive feeling between Seattle and Bellingham, really at any of those sites, at least for managing cancer patients.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Hall. I love hearing about that collaboration and partnership with the folks down south, especially at SS or the Cancer Care Alliance. And really what I heard the message was putting the patient at the center of care and deciding what's best for them and where the best treatment and surgery options are. So great. Thank you. One quick last question to wrap it up. And Gurpreet, I need you to be succinct on this one because it's a hard one. You showed a picture of Dr. Caffrey with palliative care. Can you briefly explain couple sentences, what palliative care is and how it works with our cancer center family?
Yeah, absolutely. So how we define palliative care is another word for it is supportive care. It's an extra layer of support. So if we have a patient in oncology that's either having symptoms that are challenging to manage, or they have goals of care conversations where they have a decision making that they need to make of whether treatment is the course for them or to not treat, and kind of just based on quality of life. So really the focus for palliative care is to improve the quality of life and for a patient to live in alignment with what their goals are and what their values are, and to make those decisions and support them through that process. And so we offer palliative care in the cancer center several days a week. And then we also have a home-based program that we also provide palliative care as well for patients that it's harder for them to come into clinic, that we can really support their needs, see what their home environment is, and do a lot of the care coordination as well. As I mentioned initially, some of the most challenging parts in the healthcare system is how do I get from point A to point B, and how do I tie all of these complicated things together to say, what do I need to do next? And that's what palliative care also supports.
Wow. Wonderful, Gurpreet. That was great. Really appreciate it. Well, I think that is actually a great place to end. And to once again, thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you to Dr. Hall. Thank you to Gurpreet for your wonderful presentations, and wishing all of you a very healthy and happy 2021. And if you have any questions at all about the presentation today, please feel free to reach out with us. We encourage you to join us for our next presentation. We'll be sending out another invitation on February 16th to learn more about our cancer center. And we are going to be sending out a quick survey after this presentation today, because it's our goal to really make these the best presentations we can and time well spent for everyone. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out or even just respond to that survey. We'll be able to connect you with the right person. So thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for joining us, you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great day.